Welcome everyone to our Code and Cask and Happy New Year. I know we're a little late into the year, but it's been quite busy. I actually part of the reason that we're getting started back so late is that I was in India with my now fiance, so I got engaged over the break, so that's exciting. But we'll be getting back into the cybersecurity stuff here. This week we're going to be going over the some role-based constrained delegation stuff, so like Active Directory attacks, and that kind of thing, which is quite cool. I've been using it a decent amount in some recent engagements, so I figured we'd go ahead and show that off. Although it's been a little bit since I ran it, since I've been gone for in India and that kind of stuff. So we'll see. Or well, I'm also trying some new stuff. I haven't used. So I've been using NetExec, which is there was some controversy behind NetExec and CrackMap exec and all this stuff, and people saw it. But NetExec is at least being supported, whereas CrackMap exec is no longer being supported. So we'll be using it. I was trying as I was testing everything instead of using like a bunch of separate tools um, for coercing authentication to our box that I'll show you guys in a second. I was trying to use the NetExec Coerce Plus, and I'm having some module that's supposed to like automatically do that now, and I'm having some issues getting that working. So we'll do some troubleshooting with that when we get there. But first, I'll go ahead and like kind of explain what this attack is. I had did I close it? Let's see. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here, and how's everyone's holidays? Anyone do anything cool over the holidays? Okay, sorry, I got a Xfinity notification. I want to make sure they weren't about to take out my internet because I have a bunch of construction going on outside my house right now. They're replacing um, all of the gas lines on the street. I was hoping that they didn't like accidentally hit something. Oh, congrats, Sim Potter. That's awesome that you got your GX cert. That's very cool. So, uh, role-based constrained delegation. I believe that there's a. Do they have? I'm looking for no. This one has it. From Trusted Sec has a diagram on how this works. So basically, it turns out that for role-based constrained delegation, if you take over a computer, or so, let me back up a second. If there is not LDAP signing on a DC that you're attacking, you can relay a computer account to the LDAP and allow it to authenticate on behalf of another user. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you can do like once we've taken over a computer, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can take over like everything. It just means that like we can take over like certain computer accounts and that kind of stuff. Specifically, it's like a way of getting to like local privilege escalation, so that we can attack or we can elevate ourselves to like administrator locally. We can give ourselves additional permissions on a box, and actually never because the permissions are. Let me see if I have a better. Is constrained. If I can find it better. I thought that was gonna show what I like when I was preparing. I thought that was gonna show me how it works. And but basically how we're going to do it is we're going to add a, oh wait, I think I know where I've got some diagrams that show this better. In our training course stuff, I should have something that we can use. Apologize, guys. I should have gotten this a little more polished. A little rusty on the streaming since I've been gone for so long. Nope, I don't have it here. Okay. But I apologize. We'll just go to Google and see if it. Yep. Can y'all still hear me? My headset just made noise. It shut off, but shine is still on. Oh, you did learn about your class in Potter? Yeah, so cool. So it's super useful. So like I was trying to say, it allows you to take over a computer. It's just hard to explain without a resource-based constraint. That's what I meant, not role-based, resource-based. I apologize. So basically, anyone can add a computer to, or by default in Windows, anyone can add a computer account. If we can relay an authentication that's coerced by a computer to our computer, or to the computer account that we add to Active Directory, we can then allow our computer to authenticate on behalf of the computer that we're trying to take over, and then add ourselves to the local admin, local privilege escalation, that kind of stuff. And so it's really useful for local privilege escalation if you're stuck. But none of these have good diagrams because it's complicated to explain. Yeah, so by default, Symbolic, you're correct. By default, you can add 10 computer accounts under a Microsoft, under the default Active Directory configuration. I recently did a pen test where, for whatever reason, something changed, and their policy was you could add 10 million computers to the computer accounts to the network. I have no idea how that happened. But it was pretty funny when I saw that. So that's why I'm probably a big reason why I'm not finding the one before. Let's see, Red Team Nets generally has, do they have a diagram? Yeah, well, we'll just go ahead and keep. Well, if anyone has any questions, I will go. Oh no, they had no justification for it. They had, when I brought it to their attention, they had no explanation for why it was that way. I'm guessing that either it was some old software thing that they ran that fat fingered it, or I have no idea. Why can I not find? I know that I found a diagram for this at one point that I used. Let's see, Red Hat maybe sometimes has good diagrams. No, okay. Well, we'll just go to being able to do this. So first things first, we want to check and see if we are able to, we want to collect we can either do this through using the AD computer. Oh my God, why am I blanking on the name of it? AD Explorer, there we go. So we'll start off by going and looking at how you check this. Man, I'm sorry. It's been a little bit of a long week getting caught back up on everything. So one way we could do this, obviously we would be using remote tools and stuff if we want to do this a little more stealthily through the command line, because AD Explorer can be ran like locally and stuff. We could download it. There's a bunch of like Empire has ways of running it or running some of this. Other tools like you can use like LDAP query is like another tool that you can use to pull this stuff. But I just want to show off like another cool thing that you can do, which is you can actually run some of these tools directly, like once we get logged in. Microsoft has this cool live thing where they host all it's like you can download the tool, but I'm trying to find 80 not ASD 80 Explorer Microsoft Live. Yeah, here we go. So if you go to this live.sysinternals.com, I'll drop it in here. Microsoft hosts all of their the sysinternal tools live on their website here, or on this website here. And so these are all signed binaries. This is being ran by Microsoft, and you can actually run them directly from here. We're currently connected as an admin, so let me connect as a non-admin to show you guys how this works. And I'm going to be drinking a Four Roses single barrel proof or barrel strength tonight, so we'll get that going. Users. Oh, I forgot that you can't just cut and paste it. It's really annoying. Zero and W5 at Q star percent Y7. Okay. So like I've been doing a couple of pen tests lately where for as part of the remote access they have like VPN access, and we do as the assumed compromise scenario, we assume that like either the RDP or like the VPN credentials have been compromised, so that someone like through various means like those are like RDP credentials are sold on the dark web like all the time. So it's not a totally unrealistic thing to say that someone might have RDP access. Actually, and we just ran another test where not only was RDP access enabled directly to the internet, but like they have very weak credentials, so we were able to brute force into it. So it does happen where you can access these, but it's like you could also run this from the command line on there are other ways to do it. But if you go to this live.sysinternals site like this, actually don't need the HTTPS, you just do live / and then we type in our spelling does matter when you do this, so that's something to keep in mind. But we'll see this. These computers are a little slow on our range, so it might take a second. But in a second, we should get the AD Explorer, like 64.exe to come up. and then we can go like look at all of our permissions by default. If this ever starts, we'll see if there's any questions yet. So you can run like literally anything that is listed in here. You can run as a Microsoft signed thing remotely, or like it ends up pulling it down and running it directly. But you can retrieve them remotely and just like I know some friends that like will mount this as a drive to execute it to do tools this way, and then but yeah, you can run like I think they have KNet in here that allows you to dump. HIJK. Oh no, they don't have KNet in here, but they do have like some of the dump tools in here. So yeah, you can run any of the Microsoft signed binaries that are hosted here. Let's see if this is. Huh. Network path not found. Maybe I do need the HTTPS. That should have worked though. One second, let me double check something. Let me make sure that this still has access. These boxes still have access to the internet. That's the first step to this. Yeah, that should have worked. Oh, I forgot the slash tools. That's what happened. So this is actually like there's a slash tools that needs to be in here. I think. Network path is not. Why is this not working? Okay, well, you can also just download it directly instead of trying to mount it remotely. I don't know why this isn't working. You should be able to run it from the command line. Yeah, okay. I just checked on Reddit to make sure I wasn't crazy, and they're saying that for some reason it's not working anymore, but you used to be able to. Oh, I wonder if that's why. I forgot that Microsoft is disabling web dev. That might be. I didn't think they were pushing that to all boxes, but that might be why it's not working anymore. So one last thing we can try. I'll just see if we can cd to just this and see if it'll list all the live drives for us. No. Okay, so yeah, we'll just download it directly. I forgot that they were getting ready to do that. Oh, now my edge is crushed. No. Yeah, so we're very slow today. Okay, so we got our AD Explorer. Agree. Nice thing is you don't need this should automatically. I thought it would automatically connect. Sorry, this is probably not readable for you guys. Let me see if I can make this a little. Our DC is so if you don't know what the DC is, you can always go as lookup and just pick like even our own name, like our own box. 01638, and this will probably return nothing, but it should give us, yeah. So we have this 1010.029. So you can't find what this it should be correct. Let's see. Yeah, that is correct. So we get the 1010.029. So like we know that now. We should be able to come over here and look this up, and then we're logging in as Scott Knowles because that's who we already are. Just gotta grab the username and password. And And so now, like we have all of our DC stuff, you can start like pre-populating the like looking at all this stuff. You can, if you want to use it later, you can create a snapshot. This will get all of the computer policy stuff for you, and all of those things. Since we clicked on this, we should be able to find our, should be under these MSD. Yeah, machine account. So right here, you can see the machine account's set to to enabled, and that we have 10 computer accounts. Like I said, you could do this using like an LDAP query with this MSDS machine account quota set to 10, which is just the default. So we can add a machine to this, which makes things really easy for us. Let me see if I can zoom in for this. Hold on. I'm going to change the resolution on my computer to make this easier for you guys to read. .800 by 600 is probably too small. We'll try this. No, we have to connect to Scott Knowles again. Okay. Machine account quota. Okay, so is that more readable for everyone? That looks more readable when I look at it. Yeah, that looks a lot more readable. Okay, so apologize for that. I thought I'd be able to zoom in. All right, so now that we know that we can add the machine account quota, we need to add the machine account. The InPacket has a really nifty tool called Add Computer that makes this like really easy. So we can just leverage that. Already installed InPacket onto our cut and paste my command that I had relayed out for everyone. Um, so it's very easy. So let me reload this too. Let me just close this window and reconnect to it for you guys. Make it more readable. Not. All right. I installed InPacket, so why? Because we have netexec working. Let me just. Okay, let's just try Tac Force to make sure this runs. Okay, so all it's available. Oh, there we go. So we have this add computer account. We need to use our credentials. So we have our valid credentials from Scott Knowles because we assume that we have that RDP stuff. So we can go back to our computer, and our evilcorp.local is our domain. If we need it, if you need to check what your domain is, you can just use like echo user domain, or like I was trying to remember how to do it without using because who am I will also tell you what it is, but you don't want to use who am I because that will 100% get you caught. So you should be able to do it like this. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I might have to run that from CMD from our command prompt. It's also under system info. We just go to our system information. You can also check it here. So our domain should be listed in here. I'm misremembering. Because there's our system name, which is workstation 1. So we should be able to find our domain this way. But let's do it this way. Yeah, so we're Evil Corp. So we're just going to do add computer Evil Corp. I usually don't worry too much about capitalization. If you have like a preferred capitalization, maybe worthwhile. Make sure it works. And we're going to do our password. I'm going to cut and paste from my dashboard. So I tend to, depending on, oh, I forgot this has, I forgot what's the escape character in Kali. Does anyone remember what the escape character is? Just ask ChatGPT. I always forget. It doesn't like the and in here. I think you just do double quotes, if I remember correctly. Oh, but then it doesn't like the bangs. Oh, single quotes. There we go. Single quotes. And then we're going to give the DC address. Sometimes you don't have to give it the DC address if you're on a domain joined computer. Technically, it's DC 10P 10.0.9. Then we're going to give it a computer name. That's all you have to give it is the computer name you want to add. If I'm not doing like a stealth thing, I tend to give it like a very obvious, like malicious name, like Rogue One or like malicious computer or something like that, just to make it easy later on. And to make it very obvious to like defenders when they go look back in the logs, like where the issue was. Let's see, this should work. Did I miss something? Is it not tack? Oh, I think it's not double tack. There we go. Oh, it says it would probably fail, but then it successfully worked. So if we want to check if this worked or not, so netexec, like I said, is the follow-on to sort of the follow-on to crackmap exec. If you're not familiar, there was a bunch of what's the word I'm looking for? A bunch of drama around the fork. Broken pipe. It's interesting. So you can see that didn't really work because I didn't use a username and password. So if we want to use a username and password, um, it should just be tacu tacp. We should just be able to do tacu, and then we're going to do scott.knowles tacp. And we should get a username. We should be able to validate against the shares. Yeah, and you can see. So this shows us the shares that we had, so that worked. So now if we want to check that like our computer worked, we can do the same thing. So it says it successfully added the rogue one. So you want to make sure you use this $sign. And the word was just passed. And you can see once again that did work. So we did successfully add our computer account using our Scott Knowles credentials because everyone by default has the authority to add a computer account. I will say I've been on networks where they have SMB signing and everything enforced on like what just happened? SMB signing, LDAP, channel binding, and LDAP signing, and all that stuff enforced. So this attack wasn't successful, but I've never been flagged for simply adding the computer account. That has never gotten me caught. So on a pen test, it's generally safe to just go ahead and do it if you think you might need it later. Might not always work, but you can at least do that. It's an easy finding to report, even though it's not necessarily in and of itself a bad thing that people can do it. Just something to keep in mind. So now this is where we're gonna have to do a bit of troubleshooting because I can't figure out why it's not working. So I have responder running. So let's just go ahead and we'll just do an ifconfig to make sure that we have the right 10.10.832. It's on ETH0. So yeah. So we're listening. So one way we can test to make sure that responder is working is just from this box, like, or if you were trying to access something, you can either like CD into like a known like nonsense one. Because of the range, the way the range works, this isn't going to work because broadcasts don't work. So we'll probably want to try and just browse directly to it, and this should work. Should have caused. That should have worked. Okay, let's make sure we can ping it. Yep, okay, we can ping it. Browsing directly to it should have worked. We have everything turned on. It almost always works when we try to directly browse to it. Okay, let's just try from here, browsing to it and see if that'll give us what I want to do. Okay. So it's at least prompting us to try and log in. So can't remember if I can cut and paste in here. Can. Okay. Grab the credentials. That should have worked. Oh, we definitely shouldn't have gotten a successful. Oh, okay, it did work. There we go. There we go. We got the NTO in version 2. Okay, so we know that we are collecting, everything's working. I don't know why it was a little weird on that one. So we did at least collect like Scott Knowles hash and attempted the NTLM version 2. Interestingly, like, so you see how this is an HTTP authentication attempt. We could actually use that attempt in and of itself to relay, because this is what we need in order for this to work. So if you get an SMB relay, you can't do an SMB relay to LDAP, but you can do an HTTP relay to LDAP. So like SMB relays can't be relayed to other protocols. HTTP authentications can. So so we could do that. What we ideally want to be able to do is but the problem with this is we could relay this one, but it's not the computer account, which is what we need to be able to do. Because what we're going to do is allow us to act on behalf of the computer account that we're relaying that attempts to authenticate. So if we do like an NXC run the coerce module like this, we'll see that it's vulnerable to the printer bug, which means that it should be we should be able to use Petit Potam, which used to be a module in netexec. So like if you do attack L with netexec, it'll list all the modules that you can do. So it even supposedly has the add computer stuff that you can use now. So it says if you set the listener IP that you should be able to force the coercion with the coerce plus stuff. We can see that it says like Petit Potam was removed. So like we should be able to just use this coerce plus stuff, but when I was trying to test it earlier, coerce plus didn't work for some reason. Like I never got the authentication back. Back to this, we can try using our credentials. Yeah, so see, it says it's vulnerable, but then I never, like, it doesn't look like it ever attempts to use Petit Potam to do it, which is like weird. So we can also do TAC options and see like maybe if we're missing any options. No, it's TAC. So like the default is all, so let's see if we set it to, if we try to set method to Petit Potam, that will work. I'm not getting any messages, so we might just have to try installing. We'll just try installing Petit Potam. So if we go to we're gonna use this project call it's just straight up called Petit Potam. So we're just gonna download it. And so like it has like the Petit Potam.py, so I don't think we have to run any installs for anything. So we'll just try that. Python .py. So our domain is going to be people corp local. We're going to give it a username of. Oh, let's try that real quick because we didn't. I forgot to try that. Let's see if Coerce Plus works if we give it our Scott Knowles creds or our Rogue. We'll just use our Rogue one. I forgot to try that. Ah, there we go. So we just need to provide it. And then, okay, cool. So we got the workstation. That was me making a brain error. Unfortunately, we got like an SMB authentication, which is not great. We want that to not be SMB. We want it to be HTTP. So we may need to force the web server to start running, which would require us to make sure that the web server, or so if we need the web server to run, we might need local admin privileges to do that. But we hopefully have some other ways to do that because we did get like an HTTP, right? So we could potentially try some other ways to force the coercion. So there's, if we want to do this, there's this very cool, if you also want to see another writing on it, I should have dropped this at the beginning. This NTLM to self article from, oh, sorry, someone asked a few minutes ago if I look at the chat, and yes, we do. Wow, you guys are, I have not been paying attention to the chat. This is more chats than we normally get, so I apologize. I've been trying to I've been trying to get this going. Oh, apparently we're getting rated. Okay. Sorry guys, I was not paying attention to the chat as we were going on. I was focused on this because we usually don't get that many chat. Usually it's just Sin Potter and I chatting. We've been good. How's everyone else been? Yeah, just noticed. So thanks for joining us. I forgot to check. Normally Anthony is on. He's sick. He got like the flu yesterday, and I haven't. He's been in bed all day. So I haven't heard from him much today. It's he's usually on watching the chats while I'm walking through all the attacks, and I have not been paying attention to chat. Yeah, he's hey, work order. Yeah, he's been under the weather the last 2 days. Yeah, I didn't hear from him at all yesterday, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Something must have happened. I thought he was just working and We've been doing some RF testing stuff for a client, and I thought maybe he just didn't have his phone with him because because the RF stuff can sometimes mess with the phone. So he might have been like in a Faraday cage or something like that. But yeah, he's just been sick. A few shots of bourbon, yeah. But yeah. So let me get back to what we're looking for. Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember how to. Oh, I might have to do an NT. Hold on. Might have screwed this up. Did we just set up NTLM relay? Or well, okay, sorry. I got thrown off by. Well, let me drop the guide, the walkthrough that I was going to give to everyone. So this has the walkthrough of how to do like a lot of this stuff. They're using BOFs to do it, but we need to use the WebDAV. We have to have a WebDAV coercion. So the oh, that's right. I always forget to. I forgot a step. We add a to this properly. We have to add a DNS record to the DC that points to our server so that we can, when we do the petit potam coerce authentication, that it uses HTTP instead. I forgot a step on this. So we have to add a DNS record first. So that is the next step that we have to do. So minutes just got what's going on. There we go. What is the command? Let me find my notes. Yes, we're going to use the DNS tool to add a command. So DNS tool.py is in. So if we go back, DNS tool. Oh, why is that not showing up? Isn't DNS tool a part of Impacket? So we have add computer. Oh, DNS tool is not a part of Impacket, so I need to install it. When I was setting up today, I totally forgot this step. 1 second, guys. Oh, it's in Curve Relay. I think I did. So let me install Curve Relay. Or did I install it? Oh, we have responders. Really? No, is there not a setup.py? Oh, no, it does not have a. This doesn't have an install either, so we're just gonna get quiet down. I try to use pipx as much as possible because it does like all the virtual environment stuff for you, um, like automatically to keep everything separate. Since we don't have to do, since we don't have to run like a requirements.txt, then it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, but it is like convenient to just be able to pipx install everything and know that it's going to work. So now we'll do our DNS tool. We give it our IP or DC address. So this isn't always the DC address. If they're on most networks, Active Directory networks, by default, the domain controller is the DNS by default. But there are networks that have the DNS server as a or the DNS name server as a different computer than the DC. So when I said the NS lookup gave you the DC, that's actually a slight misspeak. That is the DNS name server that it gives you, but like 9 times out of 10 on a network, the name server and the DC are the same computer. So it's generally a good starting point, especially on smaller networks. So we're going to just name it Linux host. Uh, crap. I forget. I have to like install this in the Impacket thing. This is why I hate using these tools sometimes. Trying to remember. Does anyone remember the cheat? There is a. Is there an apt curb relay X? There might be a project for Kali. They might have done this for us. No, that would have been too easy. Find my Impacket stuff. Come on, computer, stop being a piece of junk. Because Impacket should be available to everything with the pipx install. Oh man. Yeah, if it was that easy, it wouldn't be that fun. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how I resolve this normally. I totally forgot about this because I just have a pre-built. So this is on our range. I'm just using our Empire Ops 1 course, and it's not set up for this. And I just have a pre-built Linux image that I use for this because it's such because of stuff like this. It's such a pain to get everything working, and I totally forgot the curb relay does not has to have Impact like installed globally. Okay, we can try and cheat this way and see if it'll let me do this. So Impacket will have its own. It should say install. Oh, it says using Python 3. Okay, let's try. Is there an Impacket? Yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, so now we're in our Impacket. Now we can go curve relay and see if this works. Oh. That does include it. It might require the .local. You know, it's technically not. Okay, this might just be broken. Someone just stumbled on this and asked, "What is this?" So we're trying to do resource-based constrained delegation, which is a really useful thing in offensive security pen testing that allows you to do local privilege escalation. I'm trying to do it with a new set of tools, specifically using Impacket, and then, well, not really a new set of tools, a new set of tools for me. I usually do it with some other stuff. I was trying to use netexec to execute this stuff. I forgot that I needed to have the DNS records before we do this, and the DNS tool that I normally use is not playing nice with the current install stuff that I have because I'm using a new machine. So I'm trying to remedy it. Oh, that's why. Because Python is stupid, and we have to do double backslash. There we go. Okay. So the new record has been added. So that part. So we're making progress. So now we should be able to do petit potam through our netexec. How do I exit the? I always forget how to exit virtual environments. Even though I should remember those, just simply deactivate. Okay. Let's see if this works. Call it Lexus, right? Okay. Is it still an SMB? Or did it just say it worked and it didn't actually work? Because we actually need to here, we'll check and see. Because like I said, this has to have a web server running on it. There should be a way, let's see, they should have a module for checking for if WebDAV is running. Name AV, name CA, printer bug. Yes, WebDAV. Okay, so we're just going to run the WebDAV module. Okay, the web service client is enabled on this, so this should be working now. Uh, but we're still just getting an SMB, even though the host is an HTTP. That should have worked. Okay. Yeah, so let's go check. So when in doubt, this is why you write good notes or have a good guide. So this guide kind of tells us how to do it. So they're doing it local host at slash test and then a local host. So he just gives you like the to our their so this is they're using a BOF here, but they should be able to do local host at hold on guys 1 second. I'm gonna pull up some notes from an old test to see what I'm doing wrong here to make sure that I'm just trying to double check that our their stuff is working. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Let me see one other thing. Because once we get this working, once we get the HTTP authentication, we're gonna set up NTLM relay. We're like one step away from completed this. I just don't know why. Now that I have the, and like I said, I haven't ran it through NetExec before, but I think that the listener being Linux host should result in this relaying back. Oh, we might have to try this. You might have to give it a bogus endpoint. That might be the issue. There we go. Okay, so now we have our web dev authentication. That's what we were looking for. So you have to have a bogus. You have to have a bogus endpoint on. That was the issue. Okay, so it was working. Yeah. So to recap, you have to make sure that web services are running on it, which we did here. I just didn't provide it a bogus endpoint in the first time that we tried it. Oh, okay. I don't know why it keeps doing that. A bogus endpoint. So Chorus Plus does work. We have our web dev authentication. So the next step is that we need to set up our NTLM relay, which means that we're probably going to need to drop in that curve relay stuff. We're probably going to need to drop back into this Impacket again. Actually, instead of doing that, we can just do /Impacket and /activate. So we're just going to have to is it not? That should work. we'll just see directly into it. So now we're here. So now we can see back into the curve relay because now it's a curve relay. So now our next thing. So we can run a command once we do this. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to set up our curve relay, which is we have to go reset responder in a second. X pi t dap and 10 0.229. So we're going to relay. What we're going to be doing is relaying our WebDAV authentication from curve relay back to our back to the LDAP server from WebDAV to LDAP because we are able to do that, and then we're going to allow it. We're going to tell it to send a command to allow us to delegate access for the computer to another computer account that we control. And we don't want to validate our privs. We should be able to just run this command. Again, if you want to, my notes are not exactly that. Where is it? I accidentally closed it. Let me grab that link that I dropped for you guys all in here. Oh, yeah, I did have it in. Yes, it was a typo, is what it was. So we're going to go back to this trusted sec thing. Because this is kind of the, that's not what I meant to do. Oh, there we go. So he set up all this port forward stuff. We're on this. Once we're doing this, he should have, yep. So we'll scroll up. They'll have the NTLM relay. So just to show you guys like where most of this came from, was adapted from this blog post. because I am learning and getting smarter at yeah. So you can see delegate access, escalate user, attacker because we made it rogue one. Um, and those are the only ones we have to do. There are a few flags that you can add if you are having issues. We shouldn't be having any issues, so it shouldn't matter too much. Um, so this does the machine account quota. It tells you how to do all this. It walks you through a bunch of stuff. This is all um, using BOF stuff. So I'm doing it just like locally since I have the access to the computer to like kind of remove some of the stuff uh, that we don't need. So we shouldn't need responder right now. Don't think. I can't remember. Oh. Yes, I don't think we need a responder. So we'll just kill responder because it's going to intercept some stuff. So we'll exit it. This should be the only command we need to run here. So everything is running now. Relay. Okay, hopefully we don't have to worry about that. We're also going to need to do our source stuff again for this because we need to run. Oh no, we don't need it for the petit patam stuff. Does this not have all of our petit patam stuff commands? Oh, interesting. So one thing, if you ever forget like what commands you need, just as help, like you can do this. The only thing about it is that it does have to be like the full name. So yeah, so nothing showed up there. But like if we go back to here, NTLM relay is running, we can exit it. If we do, let's see, it should work here. Sometimes the history in the bash stuff or in the Z shell is a little messed up, which is unfortunate. Oh, whoops, I forgot grep. I probably have a typo. So we can just scroll up on our commands. Or like I said, sometimes it requires you to have like the whole command. It's not the greatest at remembering this stuff. Where's our petit patam command? Oh, we're using netexec. That's why it's not in it. There's no petit patam.pyram. That's why it's not working. So, because I'm losing my mind right now. So if you do grep and then we do like netexec, oh, not that way. History grep. I usually run it with the petit patam project and not netexec, but we can find like here's our petit patam stuff. So like we can find our command again. And this is just like a really easy, instead of like trying to up arrow all the way, like if you have an idea of what the command was that you're looking for, you can use this history grep. I think it's really useful. So we want to make sure that our NTLM relay command is running though. And if all goes well, we have our petit patam. Oh, except that's the wrong listener. Grab the wrong one. Wrong command. We want this one. If we go back, hopefully, yep. So we received a connection that is using NTLM authentication instead of Kerberos. Hopefully this works. This should all work on here. eventually. Because we want NTLM authentication, not Kerberos. This should, because you can relay the NTLM. But it is hanging, so I'm not sure. It might just be because our machines are slow. Because if we go check our blog, he should have a screenshot of what this looks like when it actually runs. Proxy chains and everything. This is connections, they run it. Let's see, just to go. He's showing how to do all the stuff. Yeah, so it says the HTTPD connection controlled attacking target. So we should get this eventually. Connection reset by peer. That's not ideal. Yeah, that's fine. Why did it fail though? We shouldn't need a Kerberos authentication risk. That's the whole point, is we're doing an NTLM relay. Okay, let me try. There's a couple of things that a couple of commands we can try adding. As I mentioned, the like troubleshooting stuff that we can try. There's a couple of things that we can try adding to our so let's see if it fixes it. So we're gonna try no dump. I don't think any of these are the problem, but I didn't get this when I tested it earlier. Uh-oh. We might have broken the server. We might have to restart the range. I don't know what happened. But we definitely, it says the exploit was successful. Didn't get. This definitely didn't relay. Has anyone done this before and got any ideas what our problem might be? Okay, let's try it one more time. Okay, well, looks like we got it that time. Yeah, but it's hanging again. Okay, so maybe What has worked on this range though? I don't know. All this, like LDAP signing and binding and everything should be off by default, but it's possible that Microsoft pushed an update that changed that. I don't think they have, but oh, hold on. I forgot to use the username and password. That's gonna fail. LDAP is broken for some reason. And maybe it's because it's still hung from our curb relay. Let's see, maybe we just need to wait for. Okay, so our broken pipe. Let's go ahead and reboot, or I'm going to reboot the range real quick. It'll take it about 5 minutes to reboot, and maybe that's our issue. Because some of these ranges end up with weird problems. So we're just going to stop the whole range. So like I said, I tested this earlier this week and everything worked. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, but so while that's resetting and all this is stopping, as we go through the next step, like so once we've done that, that's the hard part. Like once that relay has worked, the kind of attack is over. The next steps are just new configuration updates. So the next thing you run is to get a service ticket. So now that we can impersonate that computer, we can get a service ticket that allows us to we can request a service ticket on behalf of any user or for any user for that computer based on the fact that we can now like so we are requesting a service ticket for the computer account that we relayed that we now have delegated access to. And you can, because it's a computer account, you can get a service ticket for any user, which means we can now impersonate like the admin, like the domain admin, like the enterprise admin. You can literally impersonate any user, which sounds like really awesome. And it is for local privilege escalation. But because we can only get a service ticket for the computer that we relayed, it's not useful for logging. It's not like a ticket that is can be passed for everything. Like we can't use it. We can't get this administrator ticket and then like go log into the DC or to a different computer. It's a service ticket for the specified user on the one computer that we have delegated access to, which is an important step because we've now been able to go from an unprivileged user to a local admin. Which means you can add yourself to the local admin groups depending on network configurations that may allow you to start lateraling because you now have like a local admin SE designation. It seems that Microsoft has fixed that some if you only have local permissions or local administrator on the local machine, and not through Active Directory. So there is like this thing where if you have local admin through Active Directory, even if it's designated on a box that you have local admin, you can often start doing lateral movement, and you should theoretically be able to do it um, with just the local admin on a local box, unless they've changed certain permissions within the network. But using this role-based constrained or resource-based, I don't know why I always say role-based, resource-based constrained delegation, I have ran into issues where I can't lateral with that local admin designation. It usually has to come from Active Directory, or sometimes have to come from Active Directory. But once we've done this, we can then get that service ticket. Once you have the service ticket, we can use this AT exec to run like any command we want. So like I've used this to run Empire payloads, like all that kind of stuff. And so it's just like a really nice like local privilege escalation stuff. And this took a little longer than I was anticipating. But thanks. So we'll hopefully once we restart. Otherwise, I gotta change. Might be a little worked for local admin. Oh man, two of my computers still haven't stopped. That's a little annoying. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Is anyone going to Wild West Hacking Fest in February? I'm gonna be in Denver. I'm gonna be going there, so it should be pretty cool. If you're not like if you haven't been paying attention, we have started releasing a bunch of stuff for Empire 6.0 for betas and stuff. I think we're still in closed. I think we're in closed beta right now. Vincent has a few things that he wants to finish to open to create our closed or to create the open beta. And so that should be coming out shortly. There's some really cool updates in Empire 6.0 that should be fun. Our computers should be coming back up shortly. They're still starting up. Anyone got any new attacks they like? Has anyone done anything? So it's like a year old now, but has anyone done anything with Pool Party for thread injection? I know like a lot of process injection stuff has been like just doesn't work anymore because it gets flagged immediately. But the Pool Party stuff looked cool. I know it's like a year old now, but I don't know if it's being flagged by everyone yet. The new Defender definitions for anyone that hasn't gone against Defender for like ATP or whatever, Advanced Threat Protection, are like wild. I just did a pen test last month against the new Defender stuff, and it is really, really difficult. So it's been interesting. Let's see. But yeah, Wild West Hacking Fest should be really fun. This is the first time in a very long time that I'm going to a conference as just an attendee. I'm not going to be giving a talk or teaching a workshop or doing any training, so I'm pretty excited about it. So it should be fun. But there's on Patch Tuesday, it looks like we just had 3 0 days that are being exploited in the wild. One is a Hyper-V attack. Let's see what else came back. It doesn't look like there's none of these are creating a bunch of news on the a bunch of news or anything. Any new PowerShell attacks have been coming out in the last few months. I'm always a sucker for PowerShell. See past month. No, it doesn't look like. Look like much. Okay, we should be to connect now. Okay, so let's try this one more time. But before we run this, let's try running that net exec. Try running this again and see if we get that error. Huh. Okay, well, let's see. I want to get this like a full line if we can. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say about this error, because this is a new one for me. Here, let's see. So LDAP saying is not enforced, so that should work. Hmm. Okay, let's try running this one more time. I'm not. Oh, whoops. I forgot to activate and then move. See what options we have. Hmm. This is interesting. I'm trying to think what would be the issue here. Because we definitely want to relay to the LDAP server. We can try. No, SMB2 support wouldn't make sense because we're relaying to LDAP. Okay, let's try. Let's just try it one more time and see what happens. 10.10.029. Validate that this is the right one. We know this is we know it's a web dev configuration that we're getting. Okay. For some reason, when we run this once, it doesn't work. Okay, now it's acting weird. Oh. Is Rogue One not valid anymore? Okay, let's try just doing our shares thing. Confirm that this. Yeah, okay, so that's a valid user account. But it doesn't say that WebDAV's running anymore. After restart. Which is odd. Because it was running before. So let's go troubleshoot this. Oh. So when I attempt to log in, the computers are being updated. I wonder if our domain controller is being forced to update right now too. I wonder if that's our issue. No, it's not. But this is why our WebDAV server or our COAS authentication isn't working at the moment. There's some kind of forced update going on. This is one of the most, like, obviously it's very good from a security standpoint, but one of the most frustrating things about trying to build labs and running training for people is these forced updates. So we have actually gone in and supposedly hard disabled all of the updates on these computers because we don't want them updating, so that, like, if Microsoft disables WebDAV for computers and we have content in our courses, we don't want the course to just like break silently, so we don't know about it. Obviously, as material gets stale and is like no longer relevant because Microsoft changes something, then we go in and update the training, but we don't want it to just be like, we had no idea Microsoft was making this update and then students are broken on the range. And even though we've gone in and put in all these things that are supposed to prevent updates from happening, you can see that they clearly still happen anyway. So it is one of the more frustrating things for building like these on-demand trainings and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely not the greatest thing sometimes. So we'll see if this works. If not, we may just end the stream here unless anyone has like any specific questions they have about this. I apologize for this being a little bit of a dud to end the day with some troubleshooting. Because it's definitely a little bit disappointed that we spent this time troubleshooting these things and now it's not working. Yeah, so to like recap it while we wait for this computer to finish updating. Oh, sweet. So to do this, your first step is to add a computer to the domain server. If you weren't on when we were talking about it, adding computers is really easy. The machine quota, the machine account quota, or the MSDS machine account quota is the Active Directory configuration attribute that defines how many computer accounts that a user can have can add to a network. By default, that is 10. Like if you just stand up an Active Directory server and never change it, every user is allowed to add 10 machine accounts. So generally, as long as you have any valid user for Active Directory, you can add a machine account. You have to add a machine account because in order to request those service tickets that we're trying to get to right now through this delegated access, it has to be a computer account. A user account can't request service tickets for other users. I'm blanking on the Active Directory attribute that defines that. But long story short, computer accounts are allowed to do it. Users aren't. Theoretically, you could set a user account to be able to request service tickets, but you're not unless someone intentionally went and did that for some reason. You're not going to be allowed to do that. Once you've done that, you need to add a DNS record to the domain server or the DNS server, and add that record that allows people to, or add that record that points to your attacker machine that you're trying to relay to. In this case, the Kali box. Once you do that, you need to coerce an HTTP authentication or a WebDAV authentication. Because WebDAV and HTTP authentications can be relayed to LDAP, SMB authentications cannot. So just because you can coerce an authentication, so if you just run petit patam with an IP address, it by default coerces an SMB authentication. There has to be a web service running on the target box to be able to coerce like a WebDAV or an HTTP authentication. That's not uncommon to see in networks. You see it fairly often. There's also ways to turn on WebDAV for a machine. Yeah, so see, for whatever reason, we were running WebDAV before, and now our box is not running it. It might be because it's still starting up. We'll give it another minute. Once you do that, you coerce the authentication, you relay it to LDAP, which requires that the server not have LDAP signing on, which is very common. I've only ever seen one network personally that has LDAP signing turned on. It's very uncommon to see it turned on. That's probably going to change going forward in the next few years as these attacks become more common. And then once you have that, you request a service ticket to any user. You can request any user, but what we need is a user that has local admin on the box that we're targeting. Once we've done that, we've then taken over the box, and we have full control of that box. We can add our user account to the local admin. We can do whatever we want. That's kind of the whole attack chain. Generally, if things are going right, this takes like 20-30 minutes to run, not like an hour and a half like we did here. There's something we're partially having issues because our range is ran inside of AWS. And when you run in AWS like this, the normal, like if you go run responder, like you'll never get broadcast messages. Certain network messages don't work properly in AWS. That might be what broke this, although I've tested this before and successfully done it in this range. So I think something changed in the configuration. Like I don't know why the web server is not running in here. But we can just go services and enable it real quick. Since I'm logged in as the local admin, we'll just try this again real quick, just see what happens. But there are a number of things that cause web services to be on, so it's like not that unusual. Like I said, I usually find 1 or 2 boxes on the network that have web services turned on. Web client. So we'll just start this. Okay, so our web client's running now. Not sure why it didn't start running this time when it was running last time, but we run it. So web services is enabled now. So now this should work. Our Petit Batam stuff should work. It's running, but for whatever reason, it's hanging again. Not sure what's causing that to hang on our network, because it says it's using NTLM authentication instead of Kerberos. That's kind of the whole point of this. We're supposed to be able to use this. But for whatever reason, it is hanging and it is not working properly. I'm going to have to go do some more troubleshooting as to why we are hanging on this network instead of it actually running the authentication, because everything else is working properly. There's something wrong with the domain controller on this network for some reason. But yeah, you see we have this. We keep getting this broken pipe. Not sure what's going on. It's just not returning properly because the authentication is working. Like if we close this and instead of running this, we're running this. So like if we run our exploit this way and we go back to responder, like we get, so there's, it's not that Petit, like we get this broken pipe error. It's not that the Petit Batam coercion is failing. It's that when we're relaying it with relay X, the coerced authentication is occurring, but like then it's never closing out with a return. And so Petit, the way they wrote this is just saying broken pipe because it never gets a return. It's just timing out. But it's because something's wrong with the server, with the DC. Something broke on our DC for this testing, because when we do the LDAP checker, we get that error every time. So we could try, like, let's just try real quick. And this will be the last thing I try. And just see if the Scott Knowles password results in a different result, but I don't think it's going to. I'm pretty sure just something on our DC is broken. It seems to be, sorry, something on the DC is probably fine from a like general authentication like usage point. It's just, but something's broken in LDAP. But none of, like if you're running Empire Ops or whatever, none of it uses LDAP, so it doesn't really matter that much. I'm not really sure. It might even just be this specific one, yeah. Because we're on port 389, and this TLS handshake shouldn't be occurring on 389. That should be on 686. I don't know. Not sure what's going on here. But that's going to be it for us today. Thanks everyone joining. Thanks for the raid. Not sure where you guys came from, but appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And I will get this fixed and hopefully put out a an update for everyone later. Figure out what's going on here. But have a good one. I'm gonna end the stream here. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and then we'll see you then. Have a good night.